Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to another episode of Newsround for Anfield Index. It is Monday, the 6th of October. The international break is now upon us, and completely contradictory to what I've said many times before. I think we need this one, don't we? I think the players need this one. I think we as fans maybe just need this one after the 3 in a week and the toxic atmosphere on social media, the wild things being said, some valid opinions, but just the craziness could do with calming down, couldn't it? Honestly, the players, they just need it badly. Never thought I'd be praising an international break, but there we go. I'm your host, Dave Davies, coming to you from dark and gloomy Edinburgh, but we are into October. Not really much to be expected. Fingers crossed in the world. It is nice wherever you are. We start news round with that age-old question of how are we? A bit battered, a bit bruised, and probably fair to say for most, licking our wounds with kind of thinking like, how do we solve the 1,000,001 issues we are seeing right now? There's only a couple of things to say with this, though, really, in terms of everything that's happened. Yes, we've lost 3 in a week. Yes, there's a lot to sort, and it's right to have concerns over many things. But in the grand scheme of things, we are only 1 point off Arsenal with 7 games played. That's it. There's still 31 left to go in the league. So just, let's keep that in mind at the same time. And there was a good tweet I saw, see if I can find it. Here's the one from Tim Bolton, because people saying about Arsenal, I keep hearing this, Arsenal have had a tough start, but look at this for a tweet. Liverpool have played Bournemouth, Palace and Arsenal, who are in the top 6, as well as a Merseyside derby and Chelsea away. Arsenal have played a garbage United side, as well as Forest, West Ham and Leeds at home, and yet people claim they've had a harder start. I mean, it is true. When you scroll down the league, look at where West Ham are, and look at where Forest are, and look at their run of results, and Arsenal played those at home. Bournemouth, I mean, we lambasted ourselves first game, didn't we? And it was, 2 end-to-end, the open goals, a couple for Semenyo, who, by the way, has been tearing it up so far. And look at where Bournemouth sit. Yeah, we have beat the team top of the league at home. Yeah, Palace. Shame that, the Hill Dickinson boys, and then it turned into the boot camp, didn't it? But we have had a tough start in that regard. So I just thought that was mindful to mention at the same time. It could get worse before it gets better, though. This is important to say. We are still waiting on news about Ibu and his injury, aren't we? He has gone to Clairefontaine. He is with the French camp, and there has been reports via Le Parisien and various places, French outlets, that he is set to have a scan, isn't he? So we'll await the news on that. But the reports are in France that they're confident he may just have avoided any issues. Touch wood. Fingers crossed. Although it is important to say we are, 10 games or so into the season. Ibu's played about 8 of them. And twice he's been taken off already for injury concerns. And Leone's out for the season. Yeah. So we'll see what happens there. This one as well. People seem to be ignoring this. Andy Robertson limped off the pitch and looked in a lot of pain, as Lewis Steele tweeted on the, straight after final whistle. And there was a bit of footage there that's been taken down, but he had to be helped off the pitch by the medical staff. So we'll wait and see, what's the latest, the diagnosis with Robbo at the moment. So it could get worse before it gets better, in all honesty. We need a bit of luck injury-wise here, don't we? We'll see what gets confirmed this week. In terms of bashing is the word I've gone with here. I mean, and I understand why there's a lot of questions about the build-up, about the play, the use of fullbacks, the change in personnel, the change in shape, the lack of connection between the sides, the forwards looking like they've just met, Mo Salah, Karate, McAllister. There's so many question marks about Liverpool right now. I think that the big thing that maybe people missed is there was one part where Arne Slot actually got asked post-match about, what do you think is the biggest thing, or, what do you think needs to be sorted? And I think this is just worth listening to. It's only 20 seconds, but just listen to what he really focused on when asked Arne Slot.
For me, it wasn't the disconnection or the time we need for the forwards to do better. I think the first half was mainly that we had to do better in build-up. And that's what we did more and more in the second half. And that's why we created also so many good moments, chances, and moments that we could have created much more.
Interesting. I think his big thing about saying that we could have done better in build-up. I mean, God, Christ, we could have. Couldn't just seem to get the ball forward at times, couldn't we? That's ultimately what he's saying. And if we do, as people will use the word, progress the ball quicker, progress the ball better, that will get the right players on the ball more and create more chances. And we know what, odds are, if you create more chances, what will happen. So that will be, I think, his big focus personally. I do believe he thinks it's all interconnected, that, if we look at the shape to how we progress the ball, that will take care of the issues that we're seeing. It's never just one thing. It's never just that simple. But the reason I wanted to play you that's Arne Slot's words when he was asked what he's focusing on. So I think that was crucial at the same time. In terms of other things from the game, I mean, he talked about build-up and shape. I mean, look at some of the images coming out. I mean, look at that. Pushes Szoboszlai higher, Gravenberch is covering there. How many times did they utilise this space or just seem to get down the right and attack Conor Bradley? Or even when Conor Bradley wasn't there. I mean, that's one of the big things, the shape, the connections. It's just so much to work on, or to work on for Arne Slot to think about during the international break. The use of personnel is what he's got to think about as well. I mean, Sam Maguire tweeted it there. We changed 3 of the back 4 and 2 of the midfield 3 by 56 minutes today. So haphazard with squad management right now. I think that's true. I think last season changes were at such a minimal. You could set your watch by the defence, the midfield, who would be there, the shape, the positions they'd be in. I mean, in 2 of those midfield, Gravenberch and Dominic Szoboszlai are regularly finding themselves in the back line. You've got to say that. Yeah. The midfield, I mean, it's disjointed and yes, it's not helped one bit at all by the fact that Alexis McAllister, the best midfielder we have, is so far off, I don't know, form, fitness, whatever it may be. It is alarming. And maybe, just maybe, that's got to be played through. We've got to suck that up. Maybe the international break might help with that. But from such a settled side and positions last season to changing it every 5 minutes and the ask, that'll be on Arne Slot's mind. No doubt about it at all. And the fullback situation, I mean, does he have one fullback he trusts right now fully? I'm not sure. But, this was mentioned because he said this after the game. Milos Kerkez more and more tired. He played 90 minutes in 2 games and now in the 3rd game, which he's not used to. And as this tweet, and it's a fair question, why didn't Robbo start in one of them? Why didn't Robbo start against Galatasaray then with the rotation? So Kerkez wouldn't have been so tired and you wouldn't have needed to almost, for me, waste a sub in the Chelsea game. So you could have got maybe like Chiesa or someone else on the pitch. Or why didn't you start Robbo in this? It's a fair question based on what Arne Slot has said. Now, people will retort, and I kind of agree with this, which steers into why I'm saying the fullback trust. Robbo was at the scene of the crime for the goal. Again, you can't escape that. But Milos Kerkez is struggling at left back. But Milos Kerkez is not being allowed to do, I'd almost say, what Milos Kerkez is good at. If we wanted an inverted left back or one that was on Van Dijk's hip, more defensive and passing, Carreras, Hincapié, Inacio, it just seems strange what they're asking Kerkez to do, and deliberately, because we can see the pattern there as well. And on the right, where he clearly doesn't trust Jeremy Frimpong, Joe Gomez may never get another starting game, it seems, at Liverpool. And then Conor Bradley, a walking yellow card, so potentially a walking red card. Yeah, a lot of fullback issues to sort. And it's right to ask those questions. And that's why the strapline there at the bottom says, bash him, because loads of people are now questioning things. Understandably, that's, the job of pundits, the media. Some of it's ridiculous, but some of it's got merit. I mean, Jamie Carragher, he's got a sort of new show, Super Sunday Extra Time, where he does a bit of analysis. And this is what he said about Liverpool. My criticism of Liverpool being almost like a basketball team. Again, it's come back to haunt them. The thing about it is end-to-end game of football, Liverpool should be dominating a game like this with the changes of personnel Chelsea have got. It's hard to argue that too much because we did have a good period, especially in the second half, when they lost, they had issues at starting centre-back. They lost centre-backs, didn't they? It's a fair point. We should have been on, and we looked like we were on top. Just some strange decisions in the way, again, the Endo sub. Oh. And that winner. And don't disagree with Carragher on this. When the ball gets switched, the left winger for Liverpool is behind the fullback. Andy Robertson is a really experienced player, and I'm not sure he had enough in this situation as well. There's quite a bit he goes into, and it might be, some of it I agree with, some of it I don't like any analysis, but it's worth a watch, I would say, on various platforms. And he's right. He mentions, the deepness of players. It all just looks, coming back to this, so disjointed, doesn't it? Yeah, across the board. Not the only one. So questioning things. Chris Sutton. And again, I think sometimes he talks absolute nonsense. But, I would be slightly concerned about the fullback areas and that central defensive areas because you didn't get Mark Gay over the line. I watched Arsenal today. I know it's West Ham. I know you can say that, but they cruised to victory. Their bench is so strong. You're just looking at Liverpool and you're thinking that Arsenal have the foundation at the back, and that's an area of vulnerability for Liverpool. Mainly in the fact we can't seem to build up from the back. Players not in form. Another one doing a bit of bashing, but, some fair points, some fair questions you could argue in that one. Mo Salah's been getting it tight as well. Wayne Rooney, who I've got to be honest, sometimes I think Wayne Rooney just talks absolute whatever. But this is worth a watch. I can't play it. BBC iPlayer, The Wayne Rooney Show. Dear God. But anyway, Wayne Rooney, Kelly Summers, Kay Kurd, and John Gibbons from the Anfield Wrap were on this to discuss Liverpool's loss of form and Mo Salah. And Rooney was quite blunt in this, saying Mo Salah looks lost and questions his work ethic. See, I don't really necessarily agree with that. I don't think it's work ethic. He had chances. I think the biggest problem is a little bit at the moment is Salah naturally does not defend in this formation too much. We know that. We want him higher up the pitch. Arne Slot's been on record time and time again saying that. And the trade-off was last season, World Player of the Year should have been. Goals to go, the Egyptian king. We know what he brings. The big issue is, at the moment, look at that for us still. This happened 4 times I counted. probably more, wasn't it? But just 4 times I counted. Robert Sanchez gets the ball and throws it over Mo Salah's head. Cucurella, I counted on 4 separate occasions, just travelled forward. The end. No Liverpool press. There's no Liverpool press if you throw it over Mo Salah's head and you can see everyone trying to scramble across like Gravenberch there. And Gravenberch obviously went to centre-half as well later on. But 4 times. There's no Liverpool press if you throw the ball over Mo Salah and the fullback travels. Just another thing for Arne Slot to think about. And then you obviously think about the chances Mo Salah had. This was the big one. That one where Wirtz does that incredible flick and he puts it wide. So it's understandable there's going to be questions about Mo Salah because he had chances, a fair few, and he made a lot of, I thought, poor decisions. A lot of people wanted him taken off in this game, which I can understand as well. And I'm saying that he's my favourite player. I adore the man. But it was a game to forget for Mo Salah. So it's understandable why people are, I'm going to say, borderline bashing, borderline asking questions. There's one way to make these all go away, isn't there? But there's a lot for Arne Slot to think about during the international break. And Anfield Index-wise, we'll still have content all the way through. Even later today, we'll have David Lynch. He'll be on Media Matters. God, we've got a lot to talk about. There's a number of programmes planned during the international break as well, so keep your eyes out for those. But ultimately, there's got to be a line in the sand drawn now. It is what it is. Liverpool, the players, Arne Slot, us will all benefit from this break. United at home. Maybe that is just the right game in a bizarre way for that. And I wanted to sort of do the final bit on this, that Isak talked about belief and there's different things, but the skipper had some words. And in fact, annoyingly, Liverpool have taken them down, or it's not there on the website anymore. But Virgil van Dijk, in fact, do you know what? I don't actually care with this because it's annoying me that Liverpool have taken that down. Why, when the skipper gives such official words afterwards, would you take it down? But anyway, Virgil van Dijk and his strong message, which I think is good for everyone just to process and to hear. And he talked about, the level of turnover and different bits. It was always going to be a difficult season. I mentioned it from the very start already. We have to go through this as one, not only as players, but as also the staff and fans. Yeah. This is the bit that I think we all need to hear. We need to do what we were doing last year when everyone was so happy. Now we have a little bit of a tough moment, which can change pretty quickly, but we have to work for it. That is something we realise, and we need to do it all together, as we have always been doing over these years, especially when I've been here at the club, because there have been some ups and downs. And there have been some ups and downs. I mean, in recent years, for those that have been in the Hodgson era, for those that have seen Kabak and Ben Davies coming in last minute, this is by no means a crisis. Liverpool have got lofty aims, quite rightly. So 3 defeats in a week isn't good. You could phrase it under blip. You could phrase it under worrying signs and patterns. But as the skipper says, this is the time we all need to stick together. And United at home, that Super Sunday, should be electric at Anfield. All you can do is look forward now. But on Monday, the 6th of October, that was another Daily Red for Anfield Index.